that we're going to be working with the Grand Blanc Historical District to have this on permanent display just over the hill at the historic Perry House. At this time, I'm going to invite Jay Taylor back up for some thoughts that he's provided. I think you'll find them inspirational.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to pay tribute to this remarkable man today. When thinking of history, I like to put myself back in the time when the people were living and think about what Nathan and his family were going through. Let me invite you to join me on that journey. It was 260 years ago. A major war against the French and their native Indian helpers had just ended a decade earlier. The colonists, who were mostly farmers, were made safe by their British protectors. But this protection came at a cost. The British king wanted repayment for the cost of the war. He decided to impose very heavy taxes. As resistance rose, he began dismantling the freedoms that families had enjoyed for generations. Then the king began using his army to enforce his mandates. Picture an 11-year-old boy in colonial Massachusetts. He's tucked in his bed, but he's straining to hear what's going on in the next room. His mother, Martha, is sharing some horrifying news with his father about an incident that happened just 50 miles away. Now, Grand Blanc's about 50 miles from Lansing. That's how close it was. What was that incident? The British Army, which took over Boston 2 years earlier, had fired into a crowd of colonists, killing 3 people who were protesting the city's occupation. The young boy hears that story, and he hears his mother say that she used to really respect the British. But now they do one shocking thing after another. It's become nearly impossible to feed her family. Besides the onerous taxes, the king requires some families to actually put up soldiers in their home and feed them. Now imagine just a few years later, this boy, who's 15 years old now, is told by his father, Samuel, about another protest. Colonists that were disguised as Mohawk Indians boarded British ships in the night. They dumped 342 chests of tea into the Boston harbor. Well, this really made the king upset. The following year, everyone in town is talking about British soldiers marching into Lexington and Concord. They tried to confiscate the gunpowder and the arms there. Families could hear the gunshots, and Concord was only 21 miles from Nathan's home. Then another year passes. Something inspiring happens. A volunteer in the town square reads something called the Declaration of Independence. That day, Nathan Burpee and other young men had seen enough. They made a choice. Hundreds of people across Massachusetts signed up with Nathan on September 1st to serve in the colonial militia for 3 months. Nathan was only 17. Seeing little action, he quickly re-enlisted with his uncle Elijah for another 3 months. He had just learned that British Lord Cornwallis had captured Fort Lee from a patriot named Nathaniel Greene. The following year, Fort Ticonderoga fell. Nathan enlisted for a 3rd time. He learned that the Marquis de Lafayette had come from France to join the revolutionary cause. That brought some inspiration to people. It was a good sign. Upon joining Colonel Cushing's Worcester County Militia in August 77, Nathan became the drummer. Colonel Cushing was preparing to join American General Horatio Gates to face the British General Burgoyne in northern New York. Burgoyne had planned to attack the vital Hudson River Valley. If he had been successful, he would have been able to cut off the colonies, the New England off from the rest of the colonies, and this could have ended the war. Nathan Burpee marched to Bennington, Vermont, and then to Venus Heights, New York, near Saratoga. Both were very significant battles that October. Had the British not made some very tactical mistakes and had God not intervened, America would be very different today. Instead, the Americans forced General Burgoyne to surrender near Saratoga on October 17, 1777. Much later in life, Nathan Burpee described his regiment at Bemis Heights in 1777. He recalled them having to step over rotting horse carcasses and see their fellow Americans being buried. Burgoyne's surrender marked the turning point in the Revolutionary War. It breathed life into the American cause for freedom, and further, the British learned that Americans would fight bravely and decisively. But the war continued. Only 2 months later, General Washington's army had to flee to Valley Forge. There they suffered extreme situation with bitter winter, few supplies, and many, many casualties. 2 years later, in the summer of 1780, Nathan Burpee stepped up to serve one more time, his fourth tour of duty. Why? He understood things were worth fighting for. For this, we owe Nathan and all of those who fought alongside him our gratitude. Their bravery and sacrifice ensured we can stand here today as Americans. In closing, may we all journey forth with the echo of Nathan's drumbeat in our hearts, the undying heartbeat of freedom, now ours to cherish and ours to protect. Thank you.